Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to be your host for today's webinar. I am Rafael Raimundo, and on behalf of LMS Solutions Philippines, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We appreciate you for taking the time of your busy schedules to join us today. Now, we would like to start this program with a prayer followed by the national anthem.
Ang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, telas ng sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay tinatang tulad, awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitindig, makituwin at araw niya kailan ang may di magtitindig. Luman ang araw ng walhaging pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya na pagkay mga amin, at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Again, good morning everyone. So as we begin our webinar, let me just remind everyone that after the discussion, you may check the pinned comment here at the comment section to access the slido.com/cerebrolms and use the code cerebrolms to post your questions. Again, that is cerebrolms for the code in posting the questions at slido.com. Thank you. Now, to formally begin our program, let us call on Ms. Alondra Cooper, Marketing and Training Officer of LMS Solutions Philippines, to introduce to us the speaker.
Good morning, everyone. So let me introduce to you our speaker for today. She is a licensed professional teacher, psychometrician, psychologist, is a graduate of Bachelor in Psychology at Philippine Normal University, Manila. She graduated as a magna cum laude and a service awardee. Her interest in psychopathology made her pursue a master's of degree in psychology, major in clinical psychology at DLSU Dasmariñas. She graduated last year with a distinction. Currently, she is affiliated with University of Santo Tomas, Manila as a faculty member of the psychology department with a part-time job at Mind Vision PH as a psychologist offering telemental health services to adolescents and adults. She is a lecturer of various seminars and trainings in public and private schools. With a passion of helping other people, she engaged in volunteering tasks as a psychological first aider of Taal victims, mental health responder of Tomasian Group, and as an online Katatagan module facilitator sponsored by the Psychological Association of the Philippines. Let us all give a warm welcome to Ms. Eizaleen Fusingan.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope that all of you there have taken your breakfast so that we could focus and, of course, open our minds with our discussion for today. And thank you, Ms. Alondra, for that very warm welcome. And thank you also for the Cerebro LMS for giving me this opportunity to impart to you my knowledge about stress and burnout management, which is, of course, it's very timely. And most of us, especially teachers, need it the most with this new arrangements in learning. Some of us might find it difficult to cope with this and also to manage all these workloads that we have. So hopefully this discussion of mine for just a very short time would help you in terms of managing your stressors, and maybe I could add up to the coping mechanisms that you have established before. So let me share my screen now. Okay, so our topic is, of course, about combating burnout and stress. So inhale, exhale. This is what we need to do, when we are very overwhelmed with all these tasks and all these, classes, the schedule that we have. I know that apart from attending to your classes, you also have this admin task or paperwork that you have to do. So trying to manage the effects of stress is something that we all need to learn. And through time, all these knowledge that we have in terms of stress management would help us to cope better with the challenges that we will be confronting. So for the presentation outline, we have here first, we will tackle about the nature of stress. Awareness about the manifestations of stress is the key, okay, towards managing and, of course, towards arriving to this better coping mechanisms that would help us in trying to move forward from challenging situations and keeping this quality performance, especially in our academic loads or classes. Now, number two, this is about prioritizing good physical and mental health. We will tackle about how stress affects the body and arrive at some tips, of course, in the stress and burnout management. I guess this would be, in relation to the topic that I will be discussing this coming 30th. So hopefully you would also watch the part two of this presentation. But for this time, we will try to answer this question. How can teachers maintain stable mental health and quality performance during the new normal arrangement? Okay, as for all of us, I know that this time is really challenging and it makes us, a bit of stressed and anxious for what's happening around with the pandemic and with this typhoons that struck the country. All this affected the way we look into learning during this time. But of course, we have to keep on moving forward. And by trying to learn and adapt all these strategies that could help us in coping better with situations like this, like for this year, we would be able to maintain the quality for performance in this new normal arrangement. So again, disasters, emergency situations, and crisis, like what's happening during this time, bring about stress. And know that these symptoms of stress are normal given the abnormal situations that we have right now. So what is important first is to recognize them and do something about them. Okay? Recognition is the first step. And accepting that it's happening, it could make a lot of difference in terms of managing our stress reactions. Some of my clients, I attend to BPO employees as part of the employee assistance program through My Nation PH. And some of them actually have this late reaction, okay, with the pandemic. They said that at first they are in denial that they are stressed about the situation, but then their body react to it. They feel all these behaviors that are new to them, okay, and it makes them question themselves. Why am I feeling like this? It's not who am I, This is not what I am before. So you have to be aware that there are changes happening and to embrace these changes that happen. So here would be some of the stress reactions or manifestations that you could observe, and hopefully you'd type in the chat box, okay, kung saan mga page kayo nanonood, which of these have you experienced for the past months or ever since we begin this online classes. So for the behavior, we have the increase or decrease in energy levels. It makes it hard for us to work productively, having trouble relaxing or sleeping. Later on, I will give some tips in sleep hygiene techniques. And this is something that we have to really practice because sleep is really important. It will run our day. If you lack sleep, it would affect your mood. It will affect your performance and the way you relate to other people, especially with your housemates. So it's important that we get good sleep. And even though we have tons of workloads to do during daytime, make it a priority to sleep properly. And then crying frequently. Crying is at some point is the best medicine more than laughter, but A frequent crying could be a manifestation of something else. So you have to observe. Wanting to be alone is also one. You're trying to isolate yourself. Though this quarantine period made us isolated to people around us, more than that, it's the isolation that makes us feel like we don't have someone to talk to or to understand us. So you have to also know if it's affecting you. Blaming other people for what's happening. And with all the issues, may it be environmental or political, it could induce stressors in us, and it could make us, be triggered or provoked in trying to blame other people for what's happening. Okay, you have to observe if you are having these behaviors which you think are quite unhealthy. You have to recognize that it's happening. Emotions, again, being anxious is normal during this kind of situation that we have. Feeling depressed, guilty, or angry, there could be a certain trigger, a certain event that precipitate or that triggers this kind of emotions that you have. And so you have to know as well, why am I anxious this time? Why am I feeling very angry or depressed? Have to process, all these emotions that we have. We have the capability, of course, to rationalize our emotions. But of course, we have to monitor as well the way we think about things. The trouble remembering things could be one of the effects of stress. Okay? It affects the way we pay attention to things. Yeah? We feel confused. We cannot concentrate. We have trouble making decisions. And stress, stress is something that could impair the way we think rationally. So we got to, be aware of these manifestations of stress. And again, it's important that you accept that it's happening. The more you deny that, it's not what I'm feeling, I don't have any problem at all. So trying to deny them more could make you feel that stress in your body. The body would be the one to react. Like you're having the stomach ache, headaches, your body pain, you're losing appetite, you're eating too much, you're sweating or having chills, and you're being easily startled. Again, so we are starting with the nature of stress and how it's manifesting in our behavior, emotions, thinking, and body. For us to arrive, of course, at a better understanding on how we could manage this stress. So again, we define stress as the internal alarm system, which is the body's response to a real or perceived threat. It could be real or it could be unreal, depending on the way we react to it. Some would find it stressful to conduct classes online, but some would find it stressful to conduct classes face to face because you don't have, these breaks. Okay, at some point, we could record our lessons, okay, but of course, not all institutions would allow that. It makes us a bit, you know, kind of makes it easier for us to manage our classes because we could just play the video that we recorded. Okay, when you're in the face-to-face classes, you would talk for the whole day, and so it depends, and the way we perceive stress. And again, it varies from person to person. This is a body and mind's reaction to everyday demands and threats, and it's a part of daily life. You cannot actually remove stress in the equation. It's part of daily life. May it be a little stressor or a big one, we could experience that every day. It could be harmful, energizing, or exhausting. I would like to emphasize that stress is also or could also be positive. That's what we call as eustress. It could help you achieve your goals because when you're stressed, it will prompt you to action. It will make you alert. Okay? It will make you energized because you have to finish all these tasks. And research suggests that acceptable levels of stress may even help you to focus and concentrate better. Cortisol, that's the stress hormone. When it's released in your brain, it will make you energized. But too much of it, again, too much of the cortisol secretion would create this negative stress or the distress. It can result when there is too much pressure and trauma and you're unable to cope with it. It blocks your capacity to think. Okay? Parang na-hypnotize sila ni cortisol. Your brain functioning is blocked with all these hormones that you release when you're stressed. Okay, so it's again important that you manage the stressors when or before you reach that peak where you cannot cope with the stressor or you cannot handle it with the best of your ability. Then you have to limit. Okay? You have to act on it. You have to use any strategy that you can to manage them. And so we know stress could affect the performance. They have the direct relationship. As you can see here in this classic inverted U curve, okay, moderate stress, is something that would help you perform better. A low degree of stress is associated with low performance as well because you are not actually stimulated. Okay? But high amounts of stress can set you into the fight or flight mode, which leads to less brain activity, as I said, because the cortical areas or this, parts of the brain which process learning or retention, it's blocked by the cortisol levels, high cortisol levels. But moderate, this is something that is correlated with good performance. Moderate levels of cortisol tend to correlate with the highest performance and task of any kind. So we need stress, okay? But not too much of it, okay? Because at some point we look at stress as something that is very negative, but it could be positive. It's the way we react on it, okay? But again, you have to monitor whether this stress that you're feeling at the moment is something that you cannot manage. How could you do that? First, when your behavior, again, you'll go back to the manifestations. When you're experiencing those dysfunctions or unhealthy behavior and the emotions and thinking is somewhat, unhealthy, then that's the time that you have to act on it. You have to act on that stressor. May it be about work, about relationships, or any other types of stressor, because we have many types of it. Okay? But people sees this, or the scientist sees also stress as something that is related with personality types. Okay? This one is quite interesting. If you know yourself, of course, it comes with knowing yourself, your personality. How are you reacting to this stressors? We could see here, yan, the types A to C, or A to D rather, personality, which is another factor in how you handle stress. You have to understand again that stress is different from one person to another, and the way you handle stress is also different. It varies from each individual, and that's where you have to understand that something that is stressful for you might not be stressful for someone, and something that is stressful for that other person is something that you can manage well. So that's where we get to the point of understanding each other, especially if you're handling the administration, or the management. You're handling teachers. You get to know them, where they're capable of working, and what makes them stress, and how could they be able to, manage stress well, because that's something that could affect their performance. So we have here the type A, the self-driven or the competitive type. Okay, so we could see that these teachers would really be on the front, no, trying to volunteer for anything. They would like to accomplish this task given, and they would extend help at some point. But individuals, according to the cardiologists Mayer, Friedman, and Ray Rosenman, they studied this type A and B personality, that the competitive type, the ambitious, they're the ones concerned with status and achievement, they're aggressive and hostile at some point, they could be impatient, they are prone to stress related illnesses like heart disease. Okay? Again, Friedman and Rosenman are cardiologists, and they studied that this type A personalities, the competitive ones, could be prone to heart disease and high blood pressure. Okay? So if you're someone who is very aggressive in terms of, working, like work has been your passion, yes, that's good, but too much of it, of course, it could lead to bodily um, response or reactions rather, and it could affect your health. You know that stress is also something that could affect our health. Charismatic, meanwhile, or the easygoing personality, they are more patient. Okay, they are seen as a laid back, non competitive personality type and less likely to suffer from heart disease. See? I'm not saying that this one is a better way to handle stress, because it's something that could affect the performance, but of course the health, you know it's manageable. I mean, the stress reactions that you're feeling is not something that affects your health, even tempered, and they are tolerant. They experience lower level of stress. But as I said, with the inverted U curve, low stress is associated with low performance. See, but high amounts of it could lead to low performance as well, and that could affect your health. Which of these would you likely to adapt? Now, for the type C, this is by Lydia Temashok and Henry Dreher. Type C people tend to be very pleasant and try to keep the peace, but find it difficult to express emotions, especially the negative ones. They're the introverts. And they find it hard to, express themselves. May it be positive or negative, they find it hard to express. Okay? But they are trying to keep everything inside. They would be high functioning in terms of managing their anxiety or stress. You cannot see that they are stressed. Okay? But deep inside, there's bottled up emotions there. And when emotions are bottled up, that could be, that could affect your way of looking into things or behaving into things. And when a trigger, a very triggering situation happened, it could make you feel all these symptoms that could be associated with mental health issues. So we have to, find some ways to vent our emotions, because emotions needs to be expressed. Okay? It needs to be acknowledged and affirmed. Type D personality by Johan Danolet. Okay? They have the tendency to experience increased negative emotions across time and situation, and tend not to share these emotions with others. Same with type C. But they're the ones who love to follow. They love routines. Okay? They could be this teacher in the faculty room who would always try to keep up with the tasks given to him or her. They follow orders, but then they're afraid to, show that they cannot do it, or they're afraid to not accept the task because they might be rejected. They fear disapproval. They love to, please other people. And this is, of course, something that could affect you at some point. So, which types do you belong? And of course, that could correspond to the way you deal with stress. We have strategies which we find as helpful or unhelpful, but it depends, of course, on the context. You're eating, yes, that's helpful, but what you're eating may be junk food or too much of sweets. That could be unhelpful for your body. You watch TV, You watch Netflix, yes, that's helpful. That could help you relax at some point, but binge watching to the point of not working, that could be unhelpful. So moderate amounts of the things that you do, okay, or moderate levels of performance. I mean, with these kinds of tasks that you have to accomplish as part of your work and as part of your personal time, it should be managed. Again, there must be a line between work and your personal time. That would help you somewhat balance, especially during this time that you're staying at home. Teachers, I know that you would do your work before, no, at home. Nag-uwi tayo ng task, like checking papers and all. So we're used to working at home, actually. But again, okay, right now, we're working at home and our work or classes are done through these different online platforms. Then we have to manage, of course, our personal time. Okay? Allot some time for yourself. That's something that you could do, for yourself. And that's part of self-care. Learn to adapt these self-care practices so that we could be able to manage these workloads that we have. People have different ways to manage their stress, and most will learn to adapt to challenges because there is strength in every one of us. We just have to be reminded that we have all these internal and external strengths that we could hold on to. Our family, our friends, our loved ones, they are the external strengths. Also the school, the management, especially. You could provide the external strengths to your teachers. They're trying to empower them, trying to encourage them. That even though life has been really hard this year, there is something that we could look forward to. And during this time, the more that we have to be compassionate and understanding to our teachers, especially those who are affected by the typhoon or by the pandemic situation. And the internal strength would rely on our character traits, how we are disciplined, how patient we are. That's something that's, could be tested at some point. Dahil with the internet connection issues, it could test our patience. With the concerns using our laptop, hanging or not. These are inconveniences, yes. But we have to remind ourselves that there are things that we cannot control. If you're very stressed at a certain point, try to see if this situation that is causing you stress is something that you can control or something that you cannot control. Other people's feelings, all these inconveniences, it's something that we cannot control. So what should we do about it? Accept and let go. And we work on the things that we can control. Like the pandemic, it's something that we cannot control. But our response to the situation is something that we can control. Taking care of our body, practicing still the social distancing measures because we still have cases of COVID every day. It's still there. And we have to prioritize our health even though we're working. And looking into the effects of stress in our body, we could see that every part, every organ in our body will be affected by stress. It's normal that our body is affected by stress. But if we don't pay attention to our bodies and manage our stress, this could lead to weakened immune system and lead to serious health problems. As you can see with the brain, it could affect the way you concentrate. There could be anxiety, depression, mood swings, mind fog. These are manifestations of stress. Skin, you'd have all these hair loss, dull, brittle hair, brittle nails, dry skin, acne. The cardiovascular, high blood pressure, increase risk for heart disease. For the gut, that's why at some point when you're stressed, you're feeling bloated, you're experiencing constipation, because the gut is related to the brain. You know, it could be affected by stress as well. The joints and the muscles, you feel all this body pain when you're working like for 8 to 10 hours per day, just sitting there on your table and conducting your classes online. That could make you feel also that you could get sick because there's a weakened immune system. So you have to look into how stress affects you. And it could also affect the reproductive system, the decrease in hormone production, the hormonal imbalance, especially for the females. So the more that we are aware how stress affects our body, our physical and mental health, the more that we have to act on it. Try to manage them and not totally make this lead to mental health issues, which is another concern aside from the physical health issues. So what could we do? Now we'll arrive at this effective stress and burnout management, which you could practice at home, at the comfort of your homes. First, of course, is healthy diet, nutritious food at every meal, and breakfast is a really important meal of the day. Some would skip breakfast because that's part of their diet. During this time that we have health crisis, the more that we have to prioritize eating healthy food. And that includes eating your breakfast. And avoid excessive amounts of caffeine. Yeah, I'm guilty about this, but of course, caffeine helps us stimulated or be stimulated. But at some point, 2 to 3 cups of coffee per day could not help you in terms of sleeping properly, and it could create palpitations or chest pain at some point. So just regulate. Healthy diet keeps your body energized, focused, and productive. And you know this. Exercise as well is something that could help you be stimulated. It releases feel-good hormones, the endorphins, serotonin. It elevates your mood. Before you start your class, it's good that you have, some walking or breathing exercises, or you could also do some stretching. Or after your every classes, may it be for an hour or two, try to stretch your body. Okay? Or try to do some activities like following dance steps in different YouTube videos. You can do that. It improves alertness and creativity, improves your physical and mental well-being, and it keeps you active and social. That's the importance of having regular exercise. And it helps the brain to process well or effectively. Higher retention could be observed when there is higher brain activity when you're exercising. So kindly practice that. You could make a routine out of it. Routine is something that you can control. If you can control all these environmental situations, you can control your response to it by having this routine activities. And relaxation, this is something that I really recommend. Listening to music, having this me time, that's part of self-care as well. Before going to bed, it would promote restful sleep. And when you're trying to rest or practice sleep hygiene techniques, at least an hour before you go to bed, do not use your phone. Okay? And also, not do activities that are gadget related. The lights of this gadget could not help you in terms of initiating sleep faster. So do activities like reading, breathing exercises, getting a good laugh. Some would watch YouTube videos, entertainment videos that could help them get a good laugh. But when you're trying to go to bed or trying to rest, again, you could practice this relaxation techniques like for 3 minutes, you will just focus on the breath. Okay. You could set your alarm 3 minutes. Then try to take deep breaths. Inhale, hold, exhale. And just try to observe your breath. That's one, the breath awareness meditation. That's the simplest mindfulness strategy that you could practice. Or you could also have mindful eating. Okay? While you're eating, just try to observe the food that you eat, the texture, the aroma, everything about the food that you eat. And you chew carefully and slowly. That's mindful eating. With mindfulness, it's being in the present, being in the moment. Because at some point, when we're doing things that are not, doing things at the present, we are not actually focusing on it. Okay? Our mind wanders either in the past or in the future. We ruminate about a certain event in the past or worry so much about the future, we forget the present. And when we practice mindfulness, it's a way of trying to make ourselves be more present, focus on what you're doing, and that increase the concentration levels and that decrease stress. Hopefully, we can adopt the mindfulness strategies. We have more strategies with mindfulness. You could also practice the gratitude reflection or journal. After the end of each day, before you go to sleep, you name 3 things that you were grateful for the day, unique to that day. I'm grateful that I was able to finish all my classes. I'm grateful that I eat healthy food. I was able to buy greens or vegetables in the market, and I was able to exercise. I was able to do the routines that I scheduled for the day. Again, when you're really overwhelmed with the things that you're doing at the moment, try to practice all these relaxation techniques and sleep hygiene techniques. Sleep schedule must be consistent. If your bedtime is 9 p.m., then you have to initiate sleep by 8 p.m., 9 to 6 a.m., let's say. So that should be consistent. That would also help your sleep cycle to be continuous, and that helps you not have disrupted sleep. Okay. Again, adequate sleep allows you to cope better with the psychological and physical stressors of daily life. So get good sleep. That is really, really important. And another, yeah, this one is an exercise, a progressive muscle relaxation, which helps you ease tension in every part of your body, one muscle group at a time. You would tense each muscle group for a few seconds and then release the tension and feel yourself let go. Let's say, for instance, you'd do this one along with the breath awareness. So first, you do the breath awareness. Just focus on your breath for 3 minutes. Inhale, hold, exhale. Then you would practice the progressive muscle relaxation, how you would do this. So you would inhale, let's say the fist, no? It's something that you would like to work on. Kasi you're typing the whole day. So you would clench your fist really tight. Okay? And you inhale. And when you exhale, you would release the tension. You'd let go. So you would inhale, hold, and then when you exhale, you try to let go of this tension that you would put in your body part. So we have here with the first, of course, with the toes, then our legs, then the hips. Again, you would feel, you would put pressure on it or tension on it. Then suddenly you would let go. You could practice that as well on your face. You would, crease your forehead, or you would close your eyes really tight and then suddenly let go. while you're taking deep breaths, that's help you, or that's something that it could do to help you relax. Again, that's progressive muscle relaxation. Okay? Focus on the body part, which made you feel real stress. Let's say it's in the arms. So you would do this, yeah. Inhale, then exhale, suddenly release it. Okay? You could practice also one of the breathing exercises, like the 4-7-8. Try to remember that 4-7-8. 4 seconds inhale, 7 seconds hold, and then 8 seconds slow exhale. Really slow. That's one of the breathing exercises also that you could do when you're feeling overwhelmed. When we supply right amount of oxygen in our brain, it would be helpful in processing information faster. Okay? And hopefully you could practice all these relaxation techniques. And if you would have more, okay, strategies, if you want more, then I'll give more, no, doon sa ating next session in the 30th. So for the new normal learning, for the last part, I would just like to give some tips for winning your online classes. This is also something that I do, when I start my classes. First, of course, the morning routines. This is important, When you just attend your classes with your pajamas or after you wake up, you will really focus on the class that you would conduct. So wake up at least an hour before class and eat your breakfast. Especially if you have a long day or a really tight schedule for your classes. And do not use social media in the first 10 minutes of waking up. Just focus on, fixing your bed or trying to do breathing exercises. That would help. Drink water and take a shower. Cold is really good in the morning. That would help you feel stimulated as well, and you could enjoy the shower. And dress to work. No to everyday clothes. I think most of the schools are requiring their teachers, so please wear something decent. And that could help us as well be stimulated when we sit on our working table, that we have to work, we have to be productive. Tidy up and declutter. Have a clean study area. Less materials on desk as possible. And we must have, this pen or paper and one glass of water. For me, I have, bottled water. It's important that you hydrate yourself after each class. And no need for mobile phone, especially if you're using your laptop. Okay? That would make you distracted. So as much as you can, put away the mobile phone, unless you'll be using that. Especially on some cases where you can't access the chat box, then I am using the phone to access the messages of my students through the chat. And communicate study hours to family. We are expected to respond to our family members as well. So we have to inform them about the class schedule. Okay, and create this online class ongoing zone at home. Okay? This is a practice that we must do, especially as teachers. It's hard when we're distracted by the noises or when there are passing vehicles. Of course, it's something that you can control. Yung mga dumadaan sa labas. But inside the comfort of your homes, you could communicate appropriately to your family members so that they would understand that you're doing the work, and they have to be quiet, of course. And after each of the classes, the rest of the day is yours. You could either play with your pets, or you could have a good meal, take a walk, and rest. It's really, really important that you give time for rest and good sleep. So for the last part, I would like everyone to practice this one. This is also something that I do. Loving kindness meditation is about putting up the statements, declaring something that you want to achieve or experience. It could be a short phrase or statement, but after each day or before you start your day, you could practice this one. Again, you will just create a short statement that would um, help you have this goal for the day. What is something that you'd like to achieve or experience for the day? Everyone, while tapping our chest lightly, may I be safe, may I be healthy, may I love and feel love. May you be safe, may you be healthy, may you love and feel love. May we be safe, may we be healthy, may we love and be loved. So three things that we would like to achieve right now, and I would like you to achieve at the moment. Be safe, be healthy, and be loved. So for that, thank you for listening. And if you have questions, just proceed to the link, and I would be glad to answer all of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that interesting talk. We hope that Thank you very much for that interesting talk. We hope that you have learned a lot from Miss Eizaleen. So we will be answering the questions after the second discussion. In the meantime, you may check the pinned comment at the comment section to access the slido.com/cerebrolms to post your questions. So since Miss Eizaleen mentioned that we can use tools to ease the stress and burnout of teachers on online teaching, let us now call on Mr. Jonald Josin Itugot, founder and CEO of LMS Solution Philippines, to introduce to us the Cerebro LMS.
Hi everyone, good morning. So first, I would like to invite everyone to send in your questions on slido.com/cerebrolms, and our speaker would be very glad later on to answer all your questions. And I would also like to take this opportunity to invite you na rin, for our upcoming events on November 30, 2020 at 10 a.m. This is what our speaker, Ms. Fusingan, was telling us a while ago, that there will be a second part of this webinar, which is more about managing teachers' workload in the new normal of education. And this is one of the activities uh, that will be streamed live over the Manila International Book Fair Facebook page, in line with the first online MIBF this year. So we're inviting you to join us on this session, which will be streamed live on the Manila International Book Fair Facebook page on November 30, 2020. That's on Monday, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock a.m. And we'd also like to invite you on December 11, 2020, 4 o'clock p.m. To witness our participation in the first online demo day of the Idea Space Foundation. The Idea Space Foundation is a nonprofit accelerator program for startup companies like us. Uh, uh, Most of the companies that will be presenting here are those with advocacies that are related to the new normal setup. So you may view our presentation on December 11, 4 p.m. at the Idea Space Philippines Facebook page. Okay, so thank you, Ms. Fusingan, and thank you, Raf, for your great presentations today, and for thank you for organizing this event. So let's proceed with what I'm tasked to do right now. So again, hello everyone. I'm Justin, and I'm the CEO of Cerebro. We are a group of teachers who aim to revolutionize teaching by allowing our fellow educators, both young and seniors alike, to jumpstart e-learning amidst the pandemic and make teaching in the new normal an enjoyable passion and not just a stressful job that could give them thoughts of leaving their careers. This is teacher Anna, a grade school faculty member in a medium-sized private school handling 8 online classes with 50 students each. However, these classes are not of the same subject, since teachers in the elementary level are expected to teach students in different learning areas, which could also be different from the teacher's field of specialization. Because of this, Anna needs to do an extensive research about the subjects assigned to her so she could prepare her instructional materials well, while also allocating time for her other administrative duties such as computing grades, preparing reports, and the like. Based on the data from the Department of Education, a teacher spends at least 2 hours per day for these tasks, which sums up to around 400 hours of preparation time for the entire school year. And this number has just doubled during the COVID-19 pandemic, since teachers were required to produce a year's worth of digital materials so that their schools can get certified for online learning. We could only imagine how stressful it is to be a teacher, and what else could we feel if we come to realize that this problem also becomes a pain point for school administrators after seeing the resignation of over 3,000 private school teachers just this year. With this, schools are losing billions just to train new hires whom they also cannot ensure if these teachers could withstand the pressure even for just a semester. The Philippine Institute for Development Studies also notes that such heavy workload of teachers has a significant effect on the equality and quality of education, leading us to rank 79 out of the 79 countries who took the program for international student assessment in the year 2018. Then we came to realize that if there is only one set of competencies issued by DepEd by which our students are to be measured, then why can't we have a single set of instructional materials coupled with auto-graded assessments and interactive and gamified learning activities that we could share with teachers coming from different schools to effectively reduce their workload and free up much of their time for their family and personal lives? Our solution comes with ready-made instructional contents that teachers can just pull out from our platform to jumpstart their online teaching, and even interactive simulations that provide realistic virtual laboratory experiments that will keep students engaged with learning the fun way. In addition, school administrators can also monitor what's happening in their learning management system and determine the system's usage data and the end user's performance. You might be thinking that there are already other market players out there and that we are a new name when it comes to e-learning, but our initial set of clients were willing to switch to our solution and even gave us positive feedback that helped us gain early stage traction against the other widely used brands. In our first 11 months, we have continuously strived to develop our competitive edge, and we would like to further expand our reach so more schools will learn about our advantage in terms of curriculum alignment, ease of registration, and value for money. There are currently over 1.2 million teachers in the Philippines who could benefit from our solution, and among this number, 300,000 are from the private school sector who do not enjoy access to the government's learning resource system. 11,000 teachers are in the province of Cavite, where we have already tested our product since 76% of the schools here are privately owned. And sadly, at least 43 schools in Cavite had no choice but to close down just because they are not able to prepare digital instructional materials and meet DepEd's minimum requirements for online distance learning. At present, 9 schools with a combined total of 7,000 users have subscribed to Cerebro at an institutional level, where 6 schools are from Cavite and 3 are from other provinces who serve as our test markets for their respective areas. This is actually a big leap from the initial 4 schools that we had when we began our journey in the Idea Space program. A good 75% of our team is composed of licensed professional teachers, so our solution is something that is crafted by teachers for our fellow teachers, and we don't think that the other learning management system providers have the same experience from the field that we have since we ourselves felt how it really is to be a teacher from the ground. Individual teachers who are engaged in lesson planning may directly register on our website and start accessing our learning materials for free, while educational administrators may also opt to avail a paid monthly subscription at an institutional level so they can ensure a standardized quality of learning for their whole school. As for the price, our premium plans are actually 3 times lower than that of traditional textbooks. So overall, Cerebro is a cost-effective solution for jump-starting online learning. So if you are a school owner or administrator or you know of anyone who might be looking for a solution that will help address problems on faculty workload and high turnover rates, connect with us so we can discuss how we can be partners in helping your educators to teach smart and live smart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Justin. I now open the floor to questions. Now, for our first question, what strategy can you suggest so that students in an online class that lasts 3 hours will not get bored? This question is directly for Ms. Eizaleen.
Okay. So for the students to not get bored, actually, the challenge in online teaching is that we cannot see them, whether they're really listening or not, because at some point we don't require them to turn on their videos because, that could contribute to the data consumption. But for the strategies that you could suggest so that they will not get bored, of course, you have to provide them along with the lecture. You have to use all these digital tools, yeah, for games. Yeah, you could also utilize this discussion board if you have one. Okay, that would help them in terms of opening their insights or sharing their insights about the topics. and encourage them to send messages in the chat box so that you know that they're still there, and you would of course prompt them to ask, I mean, to answer the question. So you should be asking questions as well. So the questions could be like, for after 20 minutes or 30 minutes of discussion, then you'll ask a question, and then you would encourage them to participate. But given the time, it's different from one school to another. Some would have their classes for like 3 hours, so they could manage their time to really engage that interaction to the students by having the games or activities or discussion boards. Then for some who would just have this hour course of classes for their synchronous sessions, then you have to make it a point that the lecture would not cover everything or will not cover the full hour. There should be the same way that we present the lessons to the class. There should be activities, motivational activities that will prompt their mind to think, okay, to relate to the lessons and still encourage the sharing. Okay, that's it.
Now for our next, thank you so much. For our next question, seeing the same people every day and they can also cause stress and anxieties. Can you give suggestions on how to prevent this situation? This is for
Uh-huh.
from Miss Evangeline.
So, you know, when we're working from home, yeah, that could also create stress when we're just seeing our siblings, our family members. And at some point, no, not all families would have this conducive environment for work. It or they could also cause the anxiety. So for this, they try to make it a point that after you conduct your classes, you would go outside. You could hang out with your friends. Right now, you know, we have kahit paano open establishments. Okay? So we could catch up with our friends, especially we are isolated for like how many months this year. So try to have time for catch up with your coworkers or your friends. I know that your coworkers are also stressed, you know, by just staying at home. So try to invite them over. Could have all these activities or coffee time. So as you could also express yourself. You could share each other's experiences with this online class arrangement. And from there, you could arrive at a certain activity that you could both do. Like some would have, you know, this streaming of movies and they're watching, like commenting with that movie. Yeah. So together, even though they're apart, they're still watching the same movie. And also, me time could be something that helps you. Kahit walang yung mga friends and coworkers, they could allot time to just reflect and to just process what happened for the day and what you could do to make the other day feel much better if you're stressed at the moment. That's it.
Thank you so much. For our next question, hi, due to stress, I am having trouble sleep. What can I do? Would you recommend drinking melatonin pills?
Actually, melatonin pills has its side effects. You know, it depends on the body. But I would suggest that you would have practice first the sleeping hygiene techniques. Okay, you could practice the breathing exercises before you go to sleep, and also, I could send you actually a material about mindfulness. This is something that I share freely to my clients or to the people I talk to. And these are a set of activities that I could share with you. So just email me at eizaleen.fusingan@gmail.com. Okay. Maybe later you could ask them to send a message with me. Okay. You could email me or send me a message through Messenger. Okay. So first, you have to practice all these mindfulness strategies. Okay. Again, practice at least an hour before you go to sleep. No to gadgets. Make yourself comfortable with your bed. Yan. Kung meron mang certain distraction like the noise or the light, then do something about it. Know where you're comfortable in terms of sleeping. You could also have the aromatherapy, lavender, uso din ngayon, ano, yung may mga humidifier and essential oils. You could have that as well. And there, yung alternative activities for gadget-related tasks could be watching or practicing mindfulness breathing exercises or reading some books. So before you would consider taking pills, just practice muna yung mga exercises. But then if it's effective and you could go well with those activities, then as much as you can, not take these pills. Do not take these pills.
Thank you so much. For our next question, what then could help the blood group to manage the stress level and avoid burnout?
What then could help the blood group? Is it the blood group to manage the stress level and avoid? What do you mean by the blood group? This is something that is vague. What again, to manage the stress level and avoid burnout, we have to provide certain routine activities for our day. Okay? Set up time for the work, and of course, set time for your activities, personal activities, self-care activities, and in this time for yourself, you could practice again the things that I've shared about relaxation, and of course for giving time to rest. Digital detox is also one. You could practice not using your phone or using these social media accounts for like a day. So take a break from this social media. So all these things, it could help in terms of managing stress level. Again, just a lot time for your uh, personal self care.
Thank you so much. For our next question, excessive stress make for me to focus on my work. What can I do?
So the extent of excessive, this could be something that could affect your work or social relationships. So if that's the case, that it's affecting a certain aspect of your functioning, then you could talk to a professional about it. You could talk to a psychologist on the tips that you could do. It's not actually a bad thing to do. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na nakapag-usap ka sa psychiatrist or psychologist that makes you someone, having all these disorders. So we have to normalize that as well. But for this question, I would like to suggest that again, try to pace yourself with all these workloads that you have. Okay? If you can, lessen the workload and minimize yung itong too much of spending time, like for example 10 hours ka na nag-work or 12 hours, so that's too much. You have to listen to your body. When you need some rest, then do it. Okay? Again, balance your work from the personal time by allotting activities after work that makes you feel much better or makes you enjoy, all these time for yourself. Like for example, 5 p.m. ang tapos ng klase mo, then you have to allot the 6 p.m. onwards to do the things that you enjoy doing. You could catch up with friends, or you could actually practice all these self-care strategies. And self-care, again, it's not just about taking care of ourselves, like having this pampering activities. It's self-compassion as well. Okay? Trying to be kind to yourself. And being kind to yourself means that you have to listen to what your body needs. Okay? So the thing is, you have to listen to your body. And as much as you can, try to address all these basic needs that you would like to have or satisfy. Thank you.
Thank you. For our next question, I think this was already discussed. So let us proceed to the next question. Is stress linked to anxiety and panic attacks?
Yes, definitely. When you're stressed, that could create all these bodily sensations like feeling anxious, too much worry that you can handle, and panic attacks. having this shaking feeling or trembling or chest pain, palpitation, sweating too much, if it happened that you would have panic attacks due to stress, then again, you have to look into your mental health. You have to practice, of course, all the relaxation techniques that I have shared a while ago. And anxiety is another, spectrum of mental health issue that we have to talk about. Right? That's also related to stress, yes. And basically, in managing anxiety, it's important that you process your emotions and thoughts. You take time to process what makes you anxious. And with these thoughts that you have, the negative thoughts basically will try to work from that. Mostly, of course, you're anxious because you're thinking of something negative and it affects your feeling and your behavior. So we try to focus on these thoughts, the negative thoughts, and try to reframe them. So that's another, point of discussion. But again, when dealing with anxiety and panic attacks, okay, we have to practice all these relaxation exercises. Basically, yun yung parang first aid natin in experiencing this kind of condition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. From Miss Evangeline, can I avail the certificate for the seminar? Actually, for the
I would like to answer that na lang.
Okay.
Sige. After the question and answer part, I will be sharing you later on the link to the evaluation form. Then all those participants who will be answering the evaluation form, since you will be providing with us your email addresses, we will be sending you your digital certificates via email. So please continue watching the webinar until its end, so you can receive or you can see the link to the evaluation to receive your certificates. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For our next question, what should I do to stop my anxiety attacks?
Yan. So first, kanina tanong kung stress ay related sa anxiety. So yes, they are related. So again, practice when you're experiencing, let's say, panic attacks, difficulty breathing. It's like your thoughts taking over your body. Okay? And when you experience these anxiety attacks, it's the body reacting to this negative thought. So try to practice the breathing exercises, the 4-7-8. So try to do it over and over again, and try to ground yourself. So grounding technique, I would like to share this as well. Yung 5-4-3-2-1. So how could we do it? Let's say you're feeling shaking, you're feeling this shaking feel, trembling sensation. Then 5 things that you see, name them. Okay. Just try to relax first. You could sit, you could touch an object near you. Let's say it's a pillow. Then squeeze it really hard. Then observe your surroundings. Name 5 things that you see, 4 things that you feel, 3 things that you hear, 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you taste. So why engaging the senses? When you're anxious, again, your thoughts take over the body. So what you're trying to do is to ground yourself, make you aware of the surroundings or all these things around you by first engaging with your senses. Okay? So yun yung mga initial ways to manage anxiety attacks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For our next question, I believe it was already answered during the discussion. So let us proceed with our next question from Miss Gloria. Joints and muscles, this mean I am experiencing stress?
Yes, especially when you're just sitting for the whole day, that would sore your muscles and with your joints, like when you're just sitting for 8 hours, makaka-feel ka ng pangangalay and all. So you have to, again, stress your body for like after 30 minutes or 1 hour of the class, make it a point that you'll stretch your body and move. Okay? You could walk or you could follow all the simple steps. Yeah, and you could do jumping jacks. Yeah, that's a way to actually stimulate your body and avoid that experience of pangangalay. Thank you. I think karugtong ito, no? What if we don't have time to exercise due to the amount of workload that we have. You know, yung time actually, ang akala natin is that we don't have much time for the things that we have to do, but definitely we have time. It's just that we spend our time and we let it, you know, take over our day. Okay? If it's not possible that you could do regular exercise like for every day, then you have to set a particular time of the week. Eh, meron naman tayong 30 minutes eh. Actually, 30 minutes lang ang required na time kahit papano, suggested na time for exercise. Kahit 10 minutes na eh for each day. Hindi siya sobrang habang oras, pero yun nga, no? With this amount of workload that we have, we think that we don't have much time for exercise, but really, we do have time for it. It's a matter of setting the schedule, okay? And again, building a certain routine about it.
Thank you so much. For our next question from AL, anxiety always gives me lack of sleep and stress. How do I manage anxiety when in fact the very cause of it is the reality that is happening around us?
Ayan. So, anxiety again, it's mostly a product of all these negative thoughts and worries that we can't control, especially with what's happening around us. Again, these feelings, especially during this time, it's normal. But when it's affecting, let's say yung sleep mo and you're very stressed, then I would suggest, okay, for you to have better management of anxiety, you could talk to a professional about it. It's okay to ask for help. Okay? But first, I would suggest that you practice the mindfulness strategies. Or you could actually practice the journaling, trying to list down what uh, you worry about and trying to see if all these worries are something that is real or that could happen. Because at some point, we're worrying about something that doesn't exist. Okay? So try to list them down and try to see, okay, where could you work on these thoughts? What actions you could do about this? Yes, it requires processing, for a professional. So I would like to suggest that you would consult someone about this, especially if it's affecting your daily functioning.
Thank you so much. For our next question, what can we share to parents who extend too much help to their kiddos while learning, while we teachers encourage independent learning? Thanks.
Actually, no, it's important that we try to conduct this parent conferences. Okay. Yes, it's important that we encourage independent learning. At sa mga memes nga, parang patalinuhan ng nanay or ng parent. Sila yung magkasagot ng module, which is, of course, it's a form of entertainment using those memes, but it's not helping the student in terms of learning. So we have to talk to the parents, okay, that they should still try to teach their kids. At some point, they would put the blame on us, the teachers. That we should be the one teaching my kid and all. Okay, but again, we have to explain the situation that we have right now and learn where they could get some strategies. So the school should set up that kind of seminar on how we could best help our parents in terms of encouraging independent learning to their kids. Again, I guess this is something very helpful. So at some point, parents don't know as well how they could help their kids. So we could say na they just yung pag-accept with all these answering of modules, they just do it for the sake of it. They don't know how to help their kids. So it's important that we try to let them know where they could help.
Thank you so much. For our next question, what is the ideal number of hours if you'll conduct a virtual class or synchronous in a 3 hours weekly schedule?
For some schools, they would like have this policy. Okay? It varies eh. Pero kung wala, then it's good to have like an hour or an hour and a half of a session, of a synchronous session. Okay? Kasi pagka 3 hours naman, hindi rin siya recommended for students dahil nga napakaikli na ng attention span ng ating students, you know. So also, at the other hand, ikaw din as a teacher, you would be really tired. And actually, you know, ang online classes are tiring talaga siya. So maximize itong number of hours for the synchronous session for like 1.5 na andoon na yung ating mga competencies to be shared to our students.
Thank you so much. For the next question, I believe it was already answered. It was related to the joints. So let us proceed with our next question from Navi. Hello, what can I do if I develop bad habits or severe procrastination due to stress?
Oh, severe. So the term here is severe, no? So it seems like you don't want to work or don't want to do your tasks anymore. So again, you have to look into this stress reaction. Is it about your work, or is it a certain event in your family that made you feel more stressed at the moment? You have to look into what causes your stress and eventually try to set up again this routine. Okay? Kasi alam mo, yung inactivity and withdrawal, that could lead to low mood. And low mood, again, would lead to inactivity. So it's a cycle. So what you could do to break that cycle is to promote a certain routine, and you'd have to push yourself to really follow that routine. Okay? That's where you could move into action. It isn't about writing all these plans or routines. It's about taking action, and you could go from there.
Thank you so much. For our next question from Jake. Lately, I am losing my will to teach. Like I don't have any determination to do things related to it. How can I revert back to being driven?
You know, for the determination, or at some point we're losing our motivation, it's important to redirect them by trying to set little goals. You know, when you set goals, that directs you towards action. Right? But of course, the thing for the action is something that you have to do. Okay? Like, for example, getting up to bed is something that you can't do anymore. It's hard to get up or wake up in the morning. So push yourself to bed and try to set all these things that you'd accomplish for the day. Writing them down or actually telling it to yourself is something that could help you be driven in performing this. And of course, ito pala, one more thing is that you have to reward yourself after each day of fulfilling all these goals. May it be little or bigger goals that you have accomplished. Being kind to yourself really matters. And by working towards motivation, it's important that you train yourself as well to do actions or focus on solutions more than dwelling on the problem.
Thank you so much. For our second to the last question, is it normal to dream about your work? I mean, while you're sleeping, you dream that you are still working.
This is actually a sign of severe stress at work. You're dreaming about your work, and that it seemed like work is something that runs your day. Yung bawat araw mo, work na lang ng work. Wala na talagang time for yourself. This is a sign of stress. And definitely you have to, do something about this. Na allot a certain time again for yourself. Minsan hindi natin nakikita importance niyan eh. Pagka meron na tayong mga stress reaction, saka na lang natin sa nakikita na dapat ay push into action. But actually, self-care should be practiced regularly. That after each work day, you'd have time for yourself. It's really easy to do, but with all these workloads, I guess it's hard for you to put off these tasks and just enjoy. Okay? But it's not about procrastinating. It's setting goal, okay, for a certain day and you'd accomplish that goal na realistic. Kasi baka naglagay ka naman ng sobrang daming work task for a day na impossible to accomplish. And time management also is something that you have to work on. You know, yung Pomodoro technique, you would set an alarm for every task that you would do. So let's say, for example, for 7 to 9, you would do your, or you would prepare your lessons. So kailangan strict ka na hanggang 9 ay tapos mo na yung lesson plan mo. So you would set an alarm for that. Okay? And then you would push or you would go for another task. Okay? So it's about, again, practice. And if you train yourself in that kind of behavior, you would adapt to it and make it a habit.
Thank you so much. And for our last question, does stress affect one's attention span?
Yes, definitely. What I've said, when you're having stress, it affects the way you think. You can concentrate on things. You're feeling confused, and this signs of manifestations of stress is something that you have to look into. Okay? How could we make the brain healthy? We have the brain-based management technique. So in terms of learning, the brain works well when it's happy and healthy. So you have to hydrate your brain, eat healthy food, of course, have regular exercise, and that's something that you could do to have this better attention span and better concentration in terms of preparing for your lessons or for your students to learn well with your discussion. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.